All right, I think I'm live. Oh boy, that's hot mic, hot mic. All right, so I have to. So Shane, we do sometimes if I'm here and everybody's around, we'll chat in the live chat before actually I go live. And this, assuming it pops up, yeah. So this is funny. I have a headache. That part's not funny. And Shane, you probably know this, but paracetamol. Um, is not what we call it here in the U.S. Here, it's acetaminophen is the drug name, or Tylenol, the name brand. But here, so we miss out on jokes like paracetamol for drugs in the jungle. So yeah, I don't know why. Does anybody know why it's acetaminophen here, but paracetamol across the pond? I don't know, but that's it's funny. It's a funny joke that I wouldn't get if I didn't know people who are across the pond. Bjorn, hello. Anthony, greetings. Oh, Scott, let's see. Well, I don't know the answer to this one. This is a, um, well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Other than you cannot go wrong learning. And if Linux is something that you're interested in, it's definitely a marketable thing. So, and hello, Daniel. Hello, Bjorn. Greetings, Anthony. I know I already said that, but I wanted to pop everybody's chat up. Hello from Sweden. So, okay, so in Sweden, is it paracetamol? I'm gonna remember it via the parrots joke now, because yeah, it's acetaminophen here, which is just an interesting thing. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing well. Here in my part of the United States, we got snow. I live in Michigan. If you're not familiar with the U.S., Michigan is the state that looks like a mitten with lakes all around it, which is pretty cool. The Great Lakes, and we are called the Great Lakes State. But anyway, it looks like a mitten, and I live at about the tip of the pinky finger is where I live, and it's right near the 45th parallel. You know, halfway between the equator and the North Pole. So we get all four seasons. We get winter. We get slightly less winter at the end, slightly less winter at the beginning, and then it'll be winter soon. Oh, some people call that summer. No, it's but it started snowing here. It's cold. We got lake effect snow, which I guess is not a thing that happens everywhere. It's probably because Michigan and a couple other states near us, and also part of Canada, gets this phenomenon called lake effect snow, where for some reason the water or the wind blowing over the water causes bands of intense snowfall. We got over a foot of snow overnight 2 days ago, and then yesterday was windy. It was just miserable. But it's really cold. Everything is covered in snow. I had to get my snowblower going yesterday. It was quite a day. Maybe that's why my head hurts today. I don't know. Maybe I overdid it. But it's cold, and then as is also usually the case here in Michigan, our weather is kind of crazy. This week it is supposed to warm up, and we're going to get rain. So the latter half of this week into next weekend is going to be, I mean, not warm. It's going to be in the 40s Fahrenheit, so above freezing, and rain. So it'll be slushy and cold and kind of miserable. And it's Thanksgiving week here in the United States. So I will have to try extra hard to think of things to be thankful for. Anyway, it's cold and snowing in the south of Sweden as well. Ah, yeah, okay. And I'm guessing we're probably, like, as far as what is the latitude goes, we're probably similar, I would think. I don't know where Sweden and Michigan lie. I'm gonna have to look at a map or something. But anyway, yeah, winter is finally here. We had a couple spits of snow a few weeks ago, but I mean, it really came down. Like, I mean, you know, it's knee deep, and drifts are even deeper. So it's really, really snowy now. This week, so the weekend assignment, if you haven't done it, that's okay. I mean, we're going to go over it together. It wasn't a really tough one, but I haven't really taught much on rsync. I don't think. Maybe I did teach on rsync. Again, I've been teaching commercially, like when I worked at CBT Nuggets for a long time. And so sometimes I forget what I taught there versus what I taught on YouTube here. But, rsync is one of those tools that is just invaluable. And, the weekend assignment isn't super challenging, but I wanted everybody to explore some of the options that rsync has because you can do more than just copy a bunch of stuff over. You can make sure that two folders stay in sync, including deletions, and you can exclude things like if you don't want to copy. Usually for me, like in the weekend assignment, I said don't copy JPEG files. That's not necessarily something I would do in real life, but in real life, I might not back up like .iso files, right? Like if I've downloaded a bunch of installer files, like for VMs, like ubuntu.iso and fedora.iso or whatever, I might not want to do an rsync backup of that across the network. I might just say, if I lose them, I'll just download them again, right? I don't want to waste my backup storage. So a lot of times I will exclude things like that or exclude a cache folder because I don't want to waste space, storing cached stuff. So anyway, that's why I thought we should look at rsync, and so I'll go over that in just a minute. And just know that it is far more powerful than we're going to look at. I just wanted to kind of pique your interest as far as what could you or couldn't you do with rsync. Let's see. Yeah, probably about the same weather. I'm curious now. Sweden latitude. 59. So let's see. I think it goes down. So I think Sweden is a little further south, at least than because we're about the 45th. I think smaller numbers go up, right? Maybe, or do smaller numbers go? I don't know. Is the equator 0? Then Sweden's further north. Okay, that makes sense that you're cold and snowy. Sean demonstrates his lack of geology experience on the live stream. Daniel, thank you for links plus scores. Oh, yeah, yes, absolutely. I'm sorry that it isn't finished. And I was going to do the next video, but so a little confession time here for the Linux Plus stuff. So our next video has to do with like mounting SMB shares and NFS shares, but also a look at multipath. And apart from the Fifth Element jokes, Lilu Dallas multipath, I have not used multipath in production, and I can't remember the last time I actually taught multipath. And so I'm like, oh, how am I going to demonstrate this? Because I'll definitely cover the concepts of what it is and talk about it, but that's why it wasn't done this week. It was like, I'm scratching my head trying to figure out the best way to demonstrate that without like setting up a huge, like a lab environment with multipath destinations for like, a 3-minute coverage of, how to administer multipath stuff. So yeah, that's little glimpse inside the brain of Sean and why I haven't thrown that out, but I will continue to do it, and I will get it done. It's not like I'm not going to do it. That's been the delay there. So let's see what else is going on. Still Linux on the desktop, and that's still going really, really well. It continues to go well. Ever since I got things working, I really haven't had any issues. The biggest issue is still with my Wacom tablet where I put my palm on it and it will lock up, and I'm actually working with one of the main developers on a GitHub issue to try to sort out what's going on. So we'll see if I can get that working. Working with X Windows, like configuration stuff, is not something that I'm really well versed at. And so that's been a challenge. It's like, you want to see that, okay, instead of doing it manually with the command line tools, I want you to put it in the x.org configuration file. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to Google quite a bit because I haven't done that. Oh my gosh. So I don't know if everybody here follows my shenanigans on my various YouTube channels, my other YouTube channel. No, I think I actually put it on the main YouTube channel, the farm stuff. But also I was tweeting about it as it was happening in real time. So yeah, let's see, the trek to the farm, then back again for the keyboard, which was there all along. No, it was not there all along. I mean, there was a keyboard there. There are actually two keyboards there, but neither one of them had the receiver. What I'm talking about. So I have multiple Logitech wireless keyboards. I really, really like Logitech wireless keyboards. And there were two of them actually. One in the video I paused to like point like, hey, there's a keyboard, but I didn't have the receiver. And that's what this thing is. And you know, it's fixed zoom, so I can't actually focus up close. But anyway, it's the little USB dongle that sticks into the computer that allows these keyboards to work. And at the farm, on the server rack is actually, it's this exact model. It's not this one, but it's this exact model that has a keyboard and a trackpad built in, which is really convenient, you know, so you don't have to worry about losing a mouse, right? It has a mouse and a keyboard built in. The little dongle, gone. Couldn't find it anywhere. And so I searched all over the farm, in the barn, in the garage, in the house, everywhere. And I don't know why that little dongle was missing. So I had to drive all the way back. And my farm is, on a normal day, it's a 30-minute drive, but it was snowing really hard. And so it ended up being like a 4-hour endeavor going back and forth just so I could restart a server. And the only reason the server wouldn't restart is because it found a minor error when it was reboot. I mean, I had to drive out anyway to power cycle it. But when I did, it came back up and it wouldn't start because FISC, file system check, detected like some anomalies, and it required me to like say yes, 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 yes. But in order to say yes, 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 you have to have a keyboard to press enter on. So anyway, I ended up getting a wired keyboard and I left it there. So now there is a wired keyboard at the farm. So there's no more dongles to lose. So anyway, yeah, that's the story about the farm. Finally running late. Grandkids just left. Oh, sad face. So the grandkids left and you're here or you're leaving now? I don't know which way it is. I'm sad that you're sad though, Dwayne. Note to self, leave keyboard at the farm. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, the wired keyboard that I grabbed from here, I did. I left it there. And the other one, the one that looks just like this, the wireless one, is still there too, because that really is the ideal kind of keyboard to have in a server rack, because like I said, it has that trackpad. I mean, very rarely do you need to have any sort of a mouse or pointing device in a server rack, but every once in a while, you know, I find, oh, I wish I had a mouse, and that keyboard has it built in. Instead of, I feel like I'm a Logitech salesperson now. Instead of a numpad, which I never use, it has a trackpad there, and it's recognized as two devices, as a keyboard and as a pointing device. So anyway, I will bring a dongle out there eventually because I have a bunch of them. You know, I keep them in with my USB sticks. And the only thing is, I don't know that you can pair them. They're, what are they called? The Unify, or no, Logitech. Oh, what are those things called? They're the universal receiver things for Logitech keyboards and mice. Unifying receiver, I think is what they're called. Anyway, I don't think you can program them in Linux, or I don't know how to program them in Linux. You can. I know how to do it on a Mac and in Windows. Like you put it on and turn it on and pair it, and then like the keyboard is paired to that little dongle. So anyway. Yeah. ADHD update. So I swapped when I take my medicine. So I take ADHD medicine twice in a day. I have one extended one that lasts it's supposed to last 12 hours, lasts about 8 hours. And then I have a booster that lasts 4 hours. Well, I decided today to take the booster first thing when I woke up. And then I took the regular extended one at lunchtime, about noon. And so, you get fully medicated Sean. This is fully medicated Sean, which is saying something, right? You're like, yeah, if you're new here, you're like, if this is fully medicated, my goodness, what is it like off his meds? Well, you'd probably be staring at the screen counting down to 0 because I'd forget to show up, is basically what unmedicated Sean is like. Oh, let's see. Oh, you're here now. Oh, good. Dwayne is here. They live 2 hours away. Oh, yeah. Got it. Yes. Yeah, my grandchild, my one singular grandchild, lives about 15 minutes away, and they are coming over for dinner tonight, so I get to see them. Mason, you've missed nothing apart from just some silly banter. I don't even remember what all we've talked about. Yeah, I don't know. Talked about my farm a little bit. Something else. I don't remember what. Jason, yeah. Yeah, so the actual medicines that I take, I've taken a whole bunch trying to figure out some that work best for me. They don't work great. The medicine does none of the medicines work great for me, which is a bummer, but they help a little, and a little bit of help is better than no help. And so I take Focalin. Focalin is the long term one. It's it's so it's the same medicine as Ritalin, methylphenidate, but it's actually death methylphenidate. It's one of the anyway. I take that one, and then straight up Adderall is my booster, smaller dose. So anyway, yeah, that is it makes a little bit of difference, and yeah, a little bit of difference, and also knowing that I have ADHD makes a big difference. Oh, Eddie, welcome. Yes, so if you don't know, I call my my granddaughter Dragon, and her parents are really good about it. They don't get upset with me. So yeah, I call her Dragon, and I make constant jokes about just wait till my fire comes in. Let's see. Mason's been tiling in the kitchen. Cool. If if you want to come to my kitchen afterwards, we could use some new tile. It's pretty rough down there. Eddie got put in. Oh, Eddie got put into comment jail because he used the ASS word. Oh, let's see. Paracetamol, weirdest name, weather equals snow. Weather equals snow. What? Can you clarify? I'm not sure what you mean there. Or just that it's snowing there as well? So I have a theory about this. You're pulling me into a rabbit hole, which is okay. Also, Eddie, no, it made me chuckle. You can say things like that here. That's fine. You're allowed. So I think that part of it is, I think it's an attractive career to somebody with ADHD, because a lot of times, especially with a larger system, a system administrator is constantly like doing all these various things. Like when I worked at the school district, it was like 100 things were wrong, and I was constantly like putting out fires, and I would also get to plan to stop other fires from starting. But that pew 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 pew, and also people with ADHD tend to work really well under pressure. It just makes for a pretty decent career choice, I think, which is interesting. You'd think it wouldn't. You'd think like I wouldn't want somebody with ADHD to be in charge of my computers. Well, maybe you do, because something goes wrong, they're going to fix it. Oh, dun, dun, dun. I can say I'm not enjoying it. Yeah, I don't really love that stuff. I mean, it'll look nice when it's done, though, right? I mean, when your kitchen is all tiled, you're going to be like, I'm so glad I did that. I had snow there for different levels of snow throughout the year. Oh, yeah. There's we have a lot of winter here. We have all 4 seasons, which is great. I mean, we have summer, winter, spring, and fall, and it's great. But I think that winter gets the lion's share, and that's just not fair. It's just not fair. I like it to be a little more balanced than it is. Bum, bum, bum. I had a kitchen for 6 months. So glad to get it back. Oh yeah, that's true too. And if you have a significant other, that will score lots of points too. Like having like any of those remodel jobs, kitchen or bathroom or any room. But for some reason, those in particular, doing without them is frustrating. Anyway, so it's 20 minutes in. We're gonna go over rsync really quick. It won't take us long because it wasn't a terribly challenging weekend assignment. I just want to show you how cool it is, and then we'll chat some more. So let's use. Okay, first of all, another thing that's pretty cool is boom. I'm going to readjust this because I'll be looking down here. So the Stream Deck is working really well now, and I don't remember what exactly I did differently. I think I'm not using, I'm not using keystrokes, like it'll do keystrokes. I'm using OBS CLI to do WebSockets directly to the OBS client. So that's actually cool. Let me move the chat as well so I can see if y'all say something like, Sean, your volume's muted, you big dummy. Oh yeah, so rsync is the weekend assignment today. And again, if you didn't go over it, that's okay because we're going to go over it right now. Stretch that. I think you can see everything. All right. Ba-dum-bum-bum. So here we are. I created a folder called test. And if you're not familiar, the weekend assignment, it just says rsync is an incredible program which will transfer files over an SSH connection using various options. You can specify blah, blah, blah. The assignment is to recursively copy files from one location to another using rsync with the following conditions. No JPEG files should be transferred, and any files in the remote location which are not in the source location should be removed. Notes, it's okay to copy from one folder location to another. There's no need to do the syncing over a network. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to do folder to folder. I have test folder and then test 2, right? So test and test 2. We'll do, this is going to be probably the best use of the tree command. Because we get to see this is what I put some stuff. Literally, these are files that I grabbed from like all over my home directory and just made copies in here. Accounts.csv. There's a folder called assets. Some files in there. Then there's a bunch of files in here. There's some JPEG files. Some PNG files. So there's just a variety of files in here. And in order to copy them over using rsync, we'll just craft a command right here. Now, I encourage you to do like rsync -- help because it'll pop up, and I encourage you to do it on a screen that's not zoomed in and really tiny. Just because, or look at the man page for rsync because there's so many options and it will do so many things. But for our instance here, so this is what we have. I just want to say rsync. I'm going to say -v, which stands for verbose, just because I like it to show me what it's doing. And then, let's see, -r for recursive, because I want it to go through the folders, meaning assets as a folder in there. Okay, so -vr, and then one of the rules was do not copy any JPEG files, right? Oh, first let's look over here. So this is test 2. If we look, there's nothing in here, right? There's no files in here whatsoever. All right, I just didn't want you to think I was cheating. So V for verbosity, R for recursive, and then -- exclude. Again, these are all in the help page or in the man page. If you do like man space rsync, it'll show you the man page, the manual page. So exclude equals, and then what we want to exclude, a pattern for what we want to exclude. And we can do a list of them, but I just want to do star.jpg. So what that's saying is when you're syncing the source destination or the source to the destination, I don't want you to sync any JPEG files. Okay. And the other option is -- delete. Now there's a bunch of ways you can delete before the transfer takes place. You can delete after the transfer takes place. And depending on what you are accomplishing and what you might want to do, like if they're really big files on the remote side, you might need to delete them before you copy stuff over if space is an issue. But for my case, I'm just going to use the naked -- delete. Okay. Which will just delete it. I don't even know when it does it, but it will delete it so that when the syncing is done, anything on the destination that is not supposed to be there will be removed. Okay, and we'll test this a little bit in a second. But then I want to have the source where we're pulling it from, and I'm going to say dot the current folder that we're in. We're in the test folder, so I'm going to say dot, and then the destination is ..test2. Okay, the folder there .test2. Hopefully that makes sense, and it should copy everything over that is not a JPEG. And there's a little bit of funny stuff with the delete that we're going to look at. So there's nothing over there, so nothing should be deleted because there's nothing to delete. But this should copy the files over. And now if we come over to test 2, and type tree here, look at that. Our files are there, but you'll notice what is not there. Let me clear this side. You'll notice that none of the JPEG files are there, right? There's the PNG files, but none of these JPEG files were copied over. So anyway, that works there. Now, I want to show you how delete would work. Let's say that on this test thing, we created a file called dumbfile.txt, okay? And now if we clear the screen and type tree, we're going to see we have all the same stuff that was there, but now there's also this file called dumbfile.txt. Well, if we're back over here and we do that same rsync command, it should sync everything, right? There's no JPEGs over here, so it won't sync any JPEGs, but it should delete dumbfile.txt, right? I mean, because we told it to delete whatever is not supposed to be there. So if we run this, then we come over here, clear, and type tree, haha, it did, it deleted it. So that's cool, but you do have to be careful, because if you use a delete flag or one of the many delete flags, like delete before, delete after, you have to make sure that you're not going to, like, your destination isn't going to be somewhere important and have, you know, if you're accidentally, like, your source is an empty directory and then you sync it to the directory that is full of your stuff and you use a delete flag, it'll be like, oh, none of this stuff is supposed to be here. So it's very powerful. You have to be careful. All right. However, we didn't quite do what we wanted, because let's say this happened. Okay, so this is what's currently in our folder, but let's say we, not using rsync, but just by some other method, we copied ... test skindog.jpg. Okay, so that's a JPEG file called skindog. And if you're wondering what on earth skindog.jpg is, I'll show you later. It's a funny meme thing. But I'm going to copy that to the local directory here. And so if we clear the screen and I type tree, now we're going to see we have these files, including, now there's a JPEG file there. It's actually the same. Let's clear the screen. It's the same JPEG file that's over here, but remember, we told it not to transfer any JPEG files. So in my brain, I would think that if I run rsync, it would delete that skindog file on the other side. However, if we look over here, I just ran it. If we were to clear the screen and run tree, skindog is still there. And that's because exclude kind of tells it, like, don't even pay any attention to JPEG files. And so it excluded it from what it transferred, but it also excluded it from what it would delete. Because remember, it deleted that dumbthing.txt, but it did not delete skindog.jpg. So if you want it to actually delete everything, including those things that you've excluded, there's another flag, and that is, so push up. The other flag is, you can probably guess, it's -- delete excluded. And so that will not only delete things that shouldn't be there, but it will also delete things that are excluded from transfer, but are still, like, over there, right? So that should delete skindog.jpg for us. Let's execute it. Sorry. So over here, press enter. Okay, so we ran rsync, and now if we come over here, clear the screen, tree, moment of truth, it's gone. Okay, so if you want something deleted from the destination that you've included in your exclude list, you have to say delete excluded as well. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, to be completely transparent, I actually had to look up the flags -r. I guess that was the only one, because normally what I do when I use rsync is I will say rsync -a, which is a meta flag, maybe? I don't know, but what it includes a whole bunch of other flags. So that means it stands for archive, and that will do it will recursively go through all the folders. It will copy the file ownership. So like if whoever the files are owned by, it'll copy the group ownership. It will copy file permissions. So like, if it's an executable, it'll copy that over. So I always use the A flag because I want the files to be copied over in the same state. And it does recursion. I think I started with that one. So I'll usually use A instead of that. But yeah, just to be completely transparent, that's how I normally use rsync. And if we were to do it over a network, it would be the same sort of thing. It's just we would form the source and destination accordingly. So this is untested on my part here, but let's say we were to do rsync-a, since that's what I do, right? I'm gonna say that I'm gonna do that. V, because I like verbosity, and then we'll say delete and delete excluded and exclude equals star.jpg. And I think that's all the flags. And our source is going to be the current folder that we're in. All right. And then our remote is going to be, I'll put my name in there, but it will assume the same name if you don't specify, but for clarity's sake, I'm going to say spowers at test, which I know is confusing because we're in a folder called test, but that's the name of a server on my network. So at test, and then colon, and then the path, which is home spowers. Test. I don't think there's a test folder there. It should sync that. I think it'll create the folder. We're going to learn together if it'll create that folder if it doesn't exist. Right now, there is no folder called test on the test server. So let's see. If we press enter, I'll ask for my password because again, the destination is now an SSH location or an SCP, which is copy over SSH. Put in my password. Okay, it's copied it over. So now if we do SSH to test, let's see. Oh, it did. It created the folder. And then if we go into test and we do tree, I didn't install it here, but if we do ls, we'll see all the stuff was copied over. Okay, pretty cool, right? That is how you would do it over SSH, even though that was specifically spelled out in the instructions that we didn't have to do it over the network. Now let me go back to the face here, and I know there's some comments here, so I will address those now. Let me scroll up. Ooh, the tree command. So the tree command is cool, and it's the kind of thing where you don't use very often, but I found that in demonstrations like this, it's kind of just awesome because it's a great way to look at a file and folder set, right? Fun fact, the exclude pattern also works for the tar utility. Oh, nice. Yeah, that is pretty good, especially if you don't want to back up some like I said, like cache files or ISO files. So yeah, that's cool. I didn't realize that was part of the tar package as well, but hey, it makes sense because that's also something you would not want to, or you would want the ability to not put things in. Let's see. Can you do that in a cron job and have it email you once it's complete? Yes. All the time with cron jobs, you have to make sure that you use, that either you set the path variable inside your cron tab, because remember, cron has a very limited set of paths, like for your executables. So it usually doesn't have user local bin. Like if you make a script and put it in user local bin, you might have to specify the script is at user local bin, the name of the script, instead of just the name of the script. But yes, you can. And that's usually what I mean, if I'm doing a regular backup with rsync, I will put it in cron and have it copy stuff over. And as far as email you when it's complete, yes. And if you don't redirect standard output into anything, because with cron, if there is something on standard output or standard error, it will email that to you. Because it's like, okay, something happened, boss, and I'm a computer. I can't really read what this means, and it will email you the results of the output. Like if anything in cron does an output, it will email it to you. You have to make sure that your system has email set up though, as a satellite system or something. Otherwise, it won't have any way to email you. But yes, it will. And a lot of times, what I will do is I will redirect standard output into dev null. But I will allow standard error to print out so that if something goes wrong, then I get an email. Does that make sense? Like standard, like if it's working, standard output, I don't want to see that. You know, I only want to see it when something goes wrong. And so I will not redirect standard error into dev null. I will allow standard error to happen. So I get an email if there's anything output into standard error. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh yeah, sorry. Somebody answer the question. Yes. Oh, I'm not even sure about chronic, but yes, that happens. I don't know if I had a video on rsync. See, I know that I've talked about rsync before, or at least SSH before. So probably not. I probably haven't had like a specific one on rsync, but I've talked about it before. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry about that. It might be in my SSH playlist because I use rsync over SSH more than anything else. And yeah, Eddie, thank you. And I do appreciate when somebody will answer a question, especially if I'm distracted by, you know, like talking or typing and that sort of a thing. Yeah, I am not the authoritative knower of all things, even when it's my own assignment that I made up. So yes, thank you. And does that make sense to everybody? Please use rsync and play with it, but know that it's dangerous. And that's why I really wanted to show you the delete and the delete excluded and stuff, because you can accidentally shoot yourself in the foot. In fact, if you hear nothing else from this whole video, attention, please pay attention here. If you are copying from one location to another, and one of those locations is a network share, like you've mounted NFS or you've mounted SMB, know that sometimes things go offline, like your network might be down, the NFS server might be down, and if like your source happens to be an NFS share that happens to be down and not mounted, all of a sudden you could be rsync an empty folder into a place where you want to have your stuff safe and sound. So be very, very careful, especially if you use the delete flag, because you might, I mean, the rsync will do exactly what you want. It will say, you want me to sync this empty folder into that very full folder and delete everything that is not here from the destination? You got it, boss. And it'll just shovel all of your data right into the garbage. So be really, really careful, especially in the case of mounted shares, because you cannot always assume that mounted shares are going to be there. So you either want to add logic to your scripts, like saying if use DU or something, like disk usage of this is less than, or, if figure out some logic to determine whether or not the stuff you want is there before you automate the deletion of a destination, because that's a scary, scary thing. All right. Anyway. Okay. Scary part is over. That was it. Yeah, I definitely covered rsync. Oh yeah, I definitely covered rsync for Linux Journal videos. But unfortunately, I don't know if y'all follow me on Twitter or Mastodon or whatever, but I called out Slashdot because Slashdot now owns Linux Journal, like the IP, the intellectual property, and all the stuff of Linux Journal is now owned by Slashdot. It went through a couple different owners, but it's currently owned by Slashdot. And after Slashdot took ownership of it, the Linux Journal YouTube channel disappeared. It just got deleted. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. And that was really sad. I mean, a lot of the stuff is dated, but a lot of it was still valid. Like I had stuff on rsync, I'm sure. And so I called him out on Twitter. I'm like, remember that time when Slashdot bought Linux Journal and then deleted the YouTube channel? And Slashdot, whoever's in charge of it now, replied that they never got access to the YouTube channel. And so whether they thought an email address wasn't important and they deleted it, or they just never got sent it. I don't know, because I wasn't a part of who owned it just previous to them. So I don't know how that sale worked. But anyway, they didn't do it on purpose. That's the part that made me feel a little bit better. Because I mean, most of the videos there were me, right? I mean, it was mostly me, but it's all gone. So yeah, if you didn't get to see the Linux Journal videos, they're mostly all gone. If you are a Patreon supporter, all of the videos, in fact, most of the tech tip videos from Linux Journal are I've included them on the Patreon welcome basket. I can't really make them public. I mean, they were on YouTube. I don't know. But anyway, they're there if you want to see those. But none of the introductions to the magazines, because every month I would do a video intro to the magazine, like a synopsis of what that issue was about. I mean, those are all gone forever, and I don't have those backed up anywhere. So anyway, that's the story of Linux Journal on YouTube and why it's gone. It wasn't on purpose, but it's gone. rsync is really cool. I'm a huge rsync fan. There are some tools in Linux that are just amazing. rsync is one of them. SSH, of course, is one of them. There's just a few tools that make it just awesome. And yeah, rsync and SSH are two of the big ones. I had to watch Jay on Learn Linux TV. I don't know. I don't watch a ton of YouTube, which I'm ashamed to say. But I've heard Learn Linux TV. I think that's a YouTube channel, right? I could be wrong there too. Anyway, I appreciate that. Yes. And play with rsync. I mean, those are just the very tip of what you can do with rsync. Yeah. So the nice thing is you actually can use rsync on Windows, probably with the new, whatever the Linux service, what is it? Linux services for Windows, or Windows and Linux service thing. There's version WSL and WSL2. You can probably do it with that, I would assume. But also when I was using Windows, I would install, what is it? Gosh, what is you could install a command line. You could install bash on Windows. You have been able to long before WSL was a thing. Oh, what is that? I'm going to look it up, because you can still do it. I didn't have WSL going, but I did install this. If you install Git, I think a lot of times it will install it. Hold on, let's see. Bash on Windows. What is the thing called? No, most of these are not talking about WSL. What is that? Wait, what is it? Gosh, I cannot remember what it was. It was a thing. It's been around forever. If anybody knows, please bail me out here. Nobody's said it yet. I'll find it. Install Linux tools on Windows. I'm looking for an old link, like before the days of WSL. Well, this says 4 ways. I'll figure it out. No, not WSL2. I will figure it out. It is. Come on. Yeah, Git for Windows. Sigwin. Oh, Eddie, you got it like the moment when I just, yes, it's Sigwin. Sigwin is what I was talking about. And for years, whenever I was on there, yeah, and you could install all sorts of tools that, are compiled for Windows. I mean, they're actually exe files, but they work in a bash window. It was just great. Yeah, Sigwin is how I survived on Windows for years and years and years. And I never really got WSL or WSL2 working. It just felt like a virtual machine. I think I liked WSL better than WSL2. I think WSL2 made it more VM-like, right? I don't know. But Sigwin was generally all that I needed to, make things happen in Windows, and including rsync. You could use rsync proper inside of it, and then it just mounted your C drive in like /C, and so you could access the file system. It didn't do some things, like I think it didn't translate M time, like modified time and stuff. So like you had to be really careful when you were using rsync based on timestamps and stuff, because it didn't have like the exact same way of handling timestamps on file systems and stuff. But anyway, yeah. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, WSL is a thin VM. Okay, and WSL2 was more, or is more, virtual machine than like, right? I mean, I seem to remember WSL2 was more just like a virtual machine that was running. And like mounted things. I don't remember. When I was using Windows, I was trying really hard to get it to be Linux like, and so, but it never was uh, much better than just having a VM running for me. And then Cygwin just seemed to be the solution that I used a lot. But you couldn't really teach Linux things using Cygwin, right? Because I mean, it was separate. It is. I mean, it's still a thing. It's separate. It actually has, all of like rsync.exe is what it would install. And I mean, it would actually be Windows native programs that you would use. It was like bash.exe that you were running, and then bash.exe would run, rsync.exe. There was no Linux happening. They were just Linux tools that you were familiar with. So, when you're running Windows, I think you mean when I, no, I honestly, Mason, I gotta say, now that things are working, it is so nice to just have like native terminal windows here. Like all this stuff, the test and test one window, they're just on my desktop machine. Yeah, it's just great. I mean, you got to see the name of my server is Big Tuna, and yeah, it's good. I even got, so do you, if anybody watched the first Mastodon video I did about like people who are frustrated about Mastodon because the chaos at Twitter or whatever, when I was demonstrating that, my screen wasn't flickering. However, the recording of my screen was flickering really, really, really bad. And it was because the compositor was conflicting. I was using GLX acceleration with my compositor, and that was conflicting with how OBS captured a window, like a screen. I could capture windows, but it couldn't capture the whole screen without doing the weird flicker thing. And so for a while, I actually just had to turn off hardware acceleration with my compositor, which was fine. It worked fine, but I was like, well, that stinks. I mean, I got a really nice video card. You'd think I'd be able to use my, hardware accelerated compositor. And then I switched. I was using Compton as my compositor. I switched to PyCom, which, okay, I'm getting in the nerdy weeds now, but PyCom is a compositor that used to be just a fork of Compton, but it has gotten to the point where it's its own thing now. And so PyCom is a compositor, and using PyCom, if I used GLX hybrid mode, which I honestly don't understand completely what hybrid means, like some things with hardware, some things without hardware, I don't know. But I get seeing what seems to be the best of all worlds. I get hardware like compositor, like my Windows. When I scroll in a window, it doesn't do like weird, like jittery things. So that's what I noticed with without a compositor, is like scrolling through a bunch of text would just like garble a screen a little bit. Not horribly, but annoyingly. But now that's gone. But also when I'm recording my Wacom tablet, it doesn't do the weird flickery thing that it was doing for that first Mastodon video. So if you look at that first Mastodon video I did, tons of annoying screen flicker. That's gone now. I mean, what we were just doing would have flickered like crazy because we were on the Wacom tablet and it wasn't flickering. So anyway. Yeah, Cygwin was all alpha files built for Win32. I think 64 as well. Unless that's just the term, but because I recently used Cygwin. In fact, maybe it's, and I'm getting, okay. And you mentioned it here, MSys and MinGW. This is beyond my understanding of what's actually going on. When you install Git for Windows, it installs what I thought was Cygwin, but maybe it's not, because it was also like MinGW or something. Anyway, it's still possible to use to use Linux tools, even though they're compiled natively for Windows. Yes. Eddie, who keeps proving to be much smarter about nerdier things than me, which is fine. Yeah, some things they're OpenGL and some things that aren't through and I'm guessing that it does a lot of the, like, maybe it's drawing windows using hardware acceleration, but whatever it was that caused the flicker when OBS was capturing the full screen, it doesn't use OpenGL for that apparently, because it didn't flicker, or doesn't flicker now. Speaking of my journey as Linux as a daily driver, you mentioned issues with NVIDIA video cards. Ooh, would that be true for AMD? Are they better with Linux? So this is a question with many answers. AMD generally works better under Linux. Like, they're supported better. They work out of the box better. However, there are a lot of things that specifically require NVIDIA in order to get the advantage. For example, in OBS, if you use NVEnc, like the NVIDIA encoder, the hardware encoder, you need to have a hardware, or you need to have NVIDIA for that. I don't know if there's an AMD equivalent to that. So AMD cards are generally easier to set up, and I probably wouldn't have had the insane issues trying to get, like, all of my screens, some of them rotated, all of them scaled slightly differently. Getting them to work probably would have been much easier if I had an AMD card. But I don't. I have an NVIDIA 3090. I mean, I got to use that sucker, right? That was, and I bought it during I didn't buy it. I got it during the pandemic, right? I mean, got to take advantage of that sucker. So, I had to use the NVIDIA tools because this is another long story. If you read online that NVIDIA has open source drivers now, that is partially / technically true, but they still don't work. I mean, they're not completely open source. Anyway, if you want NVIDIA cards to work well with X Windows right now, you still have to use the proprietary closed source drivers. And they do work fairly well. In their defense, the proprietary drivers generally work well, but you have to use their tools. Like, normally to do all this crazy, configuring of all my monitors, I would use XRander. But with NVIDIA, you have to use the NVIDIA settings tool and their format of doing all of those things. And it's a little bit crazy. So yeah, that wasn't any help at all, Dwayne, and I'm sorry. If you don't specifically need NVIDIA, like if you don't need CUDA, the CUDA support for whatever you might be doing with CUDA, like my day job, I have some stuff that I have to specifically compile with the CUDA toolkit to get the optimizations of the CUDA performance for the NVIDIA cards, or you don't need like NVEnc, like for video stuff. In fact, right now, this is being recorded with NVEnc using the NVIDIA hardware to encode for streaming. I actually use software encoding for recordings because, at least in the past, the hardware encoding hasn't been quite as nice, but it doesn't take any resources from my system, like my CPU itself. So anyway, if you just need to set up a video card and have it work on your system and you don't specifically need NVIDIA stuff, AMD is a boatload easier to get to work and configure and just work out of the box. Yeah. I guess I should have just said that. Yes, Eddie said, yeah, they're much better support. Good. Okay. I'm glad it was helpful because, yeah, there's reasons to still use NVIDIA. That's the thing. There are still reasons to use NVIDIA, even though it isn't as easy to get working out of the box. So, yeah. I guess that's it. So we're almost out of time now, but I can tell you, so my plan yesterday, I mean, if you follow my 90 Days of Mayhem, where I have a video every day, which I haven't missed yet. I think yesterday was day 48. Pretty proud of myself. It was just me talking into my phone in the car because it was a miserable day of being in the snow trying to get my snowblower going. And it was just, what a miserable Saturday. My plan was to spend a majority of the day just setting up my office, the out of frame part that you can't see. because I have enough stuff that I think I can actually make it usable now, as far as like nooks and drawers and storage. And I have a couple workbenches now. I'm excited to get that going. And so one of these days, maybe I will take a day off day job. I mean, it's Thanksgiving week here, so it would make sense to take a couple days off. And I'll just set up a camera, like a wide angle camera. I can't find my GoPro 10, but I have a GoPro 7 that I can connect to USB HDMI and just get like a wide angle of my office and just live stream for while I'm setting it up and just check in periodically. It might just be fun, live stream for a few hours. Kind of like if you followed me back when I worked at CBT Nuggets and I would do water cooler Wednesdays where I'd live stream all day long while I was working, kind of like that, but just working on my office for fun. I might do that because that was fun. Hashcat on NVIDIA. Oh, I don't know what Hashcat is. Let's see. Oh, okay, Hashcat for password hacking. Yeah, you'll never find my passwords because I always put a number at the end, 1, 2, 3, 4 at the end of the single word that I use for my lowercase passwords. I'm just kidding, of course. Yeah, that's I guess that's it. Use rsync. Have fun with that. But be careful. With great power comes great responsibility. And this week, I think I am going to take a couple days off from my day job. I'm not taking any of the days off from 90 Days of Mayhem. And so, yeah, maybe this week will be a little bit different. Although I will do that, I don't want to vow what if something goes wrong or I forget. I will get that Linux Plus video with multipath done. I'm not looking forward to it because I don't want to skirt over multipath, but setting up a scenario to use it, and it's not something I've ever used in my day job. But yeah, I will definitely get that, at least the one Linux Plus video out the door. Dwayne, yes, yeah, absolutely. I'll be here next Sunday. Multipath like multipath D, where there's like multiple network connections to like a shared SAN device, so it's like a redundant connection to a resource, generally a SAN. It's just not anything I've ever used, and it's just like a throwaway thing on the Linux Plus objective, but I don't want to gloss over it because there'll probably be questions. So I'm probably going to do some strip down. I'll explain it and then talk about like the tools that you use, because it uses a device mapper, and then behind the scenes it does the multipath thing. So I don't know. I'll just I'll figure out what I'm going to cover exactly. But anyway, yes, next Sunday we're definitely going to do a live stream. Turkey sacrifice weekend. Oh yeah, that's yeah, and I'm a vegetarian, so I do have to cook a turkey because some of my family members want turkey, but I won't be eating it. And that's just Thursday, and then. Yeah, and then Friday here in the US is like the big shopping day. It's like Black Friday where like all the stores have all their sales and people get up super early and go shopping for some reason. But now my wife actually works at a bookstore now, and they have, they were open on Black Friday for sales. So Friday, my wife will be working. Two of my kids, one kid. One of my kids is starting her new job at a retail place on Black Friday. That's a tough day to start on a retail job. And then one of my daughters works at a coffee shop, so they'll probably be busy downtown as people are shopping. So anyway, oh yeah, stuffing. I'm looking forward to stuffing, to be quite honest. Yeah, I do like the stuffing. Cooking frozen turkey. Today is the day you should start thawing in the fridge. Exactly. Yeah. And it's not safe to just leave it in the sink overnight, although I've been guilty of doing that, right? Just leave it out. I've been guilty of that in the past, but anyway. Yeah, exactly. Your first day of work being Black Friday, whew, and it's retail. I mean, it's a retail place. She's going to be working and selling like things to customers. That's a rough day to start, but she's a tough cookie. So, it'll go well. And I say all that to say that, yeah, even though it's a holiday week, by the time the weekend rolls around, it's back to business as usual, and I'll be doing a live stream. So yeah, have a good week. I'm going to try to make it an easy week, And I'll try to do some fun stuff. Like I said, I might live stream for several hours. You don't have to. You can stop in if you see it going and say hi. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, thaw in the fridge. Yeah, and there's not room in my fridge for a turkey either. I don't know. I think we're going to do just a turkey breast, which people who are like turkey aficionados would say like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? The dark meat is the best and most tender part. Again, vegetarian, don't care, not having any. But you can get just the turkey breast and just cook that, I think. So maybe we'll do that. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. On that note, it is 4:00 my time, and I don't want to keep anybody longer. So have a wonderful week. If you are in the US, have a happy Thanksgiving. If you are elsewhere, if you're in Canada, have a happy Boxing Day. Isn't that the same day or day after or something? I don't know. And anywhere else in the world, have a great Thursday. Yeah, I'll see everybody. We'll be back next Sunday for sure for the live stream, and there will be a video of some kind every day between now and then, because it's still in the middle of 90 days of mayhem, and I haven't missed a day, so I probably won't until we're done. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Have fun, and I'll see everybody later. And now this is that awkward time where I try to remember how to stop the stream. All right, bye everybody.